Welcome to our Mashers, and today we're talking about Steam pulling some adult games off of its page because a group of old biddies named the Collective Shout has gone to payment processors to tell them, hey, look, these games we don't find them good because they have certain themes against women. And they went to payment processors like Master and Visa card, which in many countries they're the biggest two payment processors. So essentially, first off, this is a very touchy subject because some of it can involve stuff like essay and stuff. But the issue is a lot of times when it comes to censorship is they essentially go after the lowest hanging fruit. With President Obama, where he essentially tried to use censorship through the form of hate speech. That low hanging fruit. Um, Problem with general censorship is yes, they go after the other person, but then they'll go after you next. And that was the whole thing with hate speech. Is like, yes, but it can be interpreted in a sense of different ways. And essentially, yes, they censor all the people who do quote unquote hate speech, but at the end of the day, they'll come back to you because they can just interpret it however they want. And this is a problem, especially with the collective shout, is yes, they're going after those problematic games, but what happens when they go after games that just, have a grown ass lady with big boobs with a slender shirt. I shows her boobs. Like how far will they go to that? Problem is if you give the censorship people an inch, they're gonna go a mile, and this already happened with sort of the woke getting of everything. So here's the thing. This is where it goes. It says this is the article from Collective Shout. Following the successful campaign and a syndicated petition to get the simulation game No Mercy pulled from platform Steam, we discovered almost 500 games depicting all that stuff. I'm just paraphrasing that part because, YouTube will come down hard on me. But yeah, we encourage our supporters to email payment processors and call them to stop facilitating payments and profiting from these games on Steam. And 1,067 days. My bad. They go on to say, this week we released an open letter signed by leading global anti-sexploitation organizations and individuals to senior executives at payment gateway companies including MasterCard, Visa, PayPal. Within a few days, we've seen a significant action. And essentially they removed all, mostly from what this says is, from the picture is incest games. To say, the new rule states content that violate rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related to card networks, banks, or internet network providers, in particular certain kinds of adult-only content. I get these are very taboo subjects, but the problem is who are payment processors decide this? And this isn't the first time many payment Visa and MasterCard threw down their weight. They also went after Japan too, essentially throwing around their weight, trying to shut down a Japanese manga site and such. I trust that essentially these companies aren't going to throw around their weight on other games that aren't like this. Article twists this and it says gamers defend their games. Predictably, misogynistic gamers have came out in full force in defense of their access to blank games, sending the women on our team abuses, threats, porn, and CSAM, using and distributing photos of our faces and encouraging us to kill ourselves across multiple platforms and via emails to individual staff members. The irony is not lost on us. I think most gamers are just tired of the censorship in general, and I think that's what we're really against. I mean, for myself speaking, I'm just tired of the whole censorship wave that's been going on in video games. And I'm kind of tired of it. Since the article twisted what gamers are complaining about, could they be lying? I think that's maybe it's 50-50 because I do think people do take these things to the extreme. But at the same time, they're twisting what gamers are upset about instead of, giving the honest truth. So there is a chance they could be also lying in that last pound. Be real, there have been books on the internet that women have been reading that are just as bad as some of these games that they sort of are railing against. I remember there was this video on Twitter going around where this lady was buying book talk books and a guy was begging her. She was drowning, and these are books that aimed at women. And it all started out with 50 Shades of Grey, if anyone remembers that, which essentially did a lot of disrespect to the BDSM community. And speaking of book talk books, I really forgot about this one. There was another one with the lady buying the book where she actually banged the step uncle and his kid. They were adult kids, but Jesus fuck, really? It's like I just like that cat that just face palm like no, no. Name was Credence. P. Douglas. It was just a lot of red flags with that relationship and the level of hypocrisy here because it's like some of these romantasy books are just way out there. If you're gonna ban the games, then ban the books, those crazy ass books too. The next thing is why did Steam give in to the payment processes? Which this one I see a lot of people online kind of grumbling with, but I think this is in my opinion. I think Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal have a lot more power than we think. They're, like most of the world, they're the big payment processors, or at least the big two, big three, my bad. And I think most normal people, use Visa and MasterCard, most in daily life, whether it be through tap or the actual physical cards, because they're so intertwined. Or can't speak for other countries, but I know in at least American culture, they're so intertwined with so many companies and banks that at the end of the day, Steam would be losing a lot of money. And I think the problem with Bitcoin is a lot of people who essentially aren't on the up and up, even Bitcoin, are really suspicious of it. And I can understand why. I mean, I see why people want to essentially have Bitcoin so shit like this doesn't happen. But the problem is it's not backed by any institutions at the moment. Who knows, maybe in the future they would be. But right now it's backed by no institutions, so it's harder to get the money. And also speaking of, at least in American culture, being so or intertwined with a lot of companies, if both MasterCard and PayPal pull out, Steam's fucked. So essentially, they really leverage hard against Steam. I don't think it's right. I do think there should be other payment processors, like in I think it's in Japan or one Asian country where they have another process you go through. But while I'm giving my reasons why Steam pulls out, or at least caves in, I still don't think it's right. I think they're throwing out around and weight, and they're trying to be the moral arbiters. People that give credit cards out to people who can't afford them and make bank on the interest payments. Hate how a bunch of miserable crones are doing this, but that's just the way it is. I just say shed some light on two, we can figure out a plan. Anyways, thank you for listening. Happy gaming. Stay healthy. Stay hydrated. Take care. Bye.